record. Okay, and we are live, and we are at the first conversation with me, Paul Webb, from paulwebbacademy.com and Clarity Creates Change, the skill of simplicity. And I'm honoured and delighted to have with me on the first call, the first conversation, Mr. Liam Sherriff. And rather than me sit here and talk in depth about Liam, I'm going to let Liam just introduce himself and tell you just a brief little bit about who he is, what he's done, and our relationship, how we met and how we interact. And then we'll get cracking. Liam, over to you, my friend.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I mean, like yourself, I'm pumped to be on the very first conversation, if you like. Yeah, I mean, I started in the fitness industry as a bit of background about myself 5 years ago. I actually started, as a lot of people are now, in sort of group training. And I did quite well quite quickly and kind of, started to be relatively successful locally in terms of building, quite a good reputation for getting results for clients and really going out my way to give a good service and everything like that. Although I really enjoyed group training and I liked that environment, there was always something missing. And I think what it was that personal element. So getting to spend, more individual time with clients in my sort of boot camps, if you like, we're having, 30 to 40 people in at any time for a set period of time. So there was a lot of people to service. And, by the mission, the longer it went on, the less interaction I had per client. So from that sort of entry level first couple of years doing groups, I thought, working one-to-one with clients was definitely something where I wanted to go. So then I set about doing more personal training. Again, really start to strip things back and work on customer service with the clients. And, very quickly referrals started coming in. People started to like the fact that they were getting more from a trainer and a coach and that holistic type of, service that we're going to discuss on today's conversation. The last sort of years 4 and 5, the last 2 years, it's really been about developing myself to the point where I try and stand out, amongst my peers in this area, but also trying to give back to the community, which is kind of what I'm working on now. The community as in the fitness industry as a whole. I'm starting to develop a very sort of back to basics, entry level fitness mentorship program specifically targeted to brand new personal trainers who I think there isn't actually that much out there supporting their growth and development so that they can build and, more importantly, sustain a profitable personal training business. I met yourself, Paul, through Natural Nutrients, which was my, nutraceutical company, if you like. We were interacting on Facebook groups, I think. Quite evidently, quite quickly, we had the same sort of business ethos. We kind of believed in the same things regarding service before, sales. We've had a couple of conversations, and you're definitely somebody who I look up to in the industry in terms of the way you go about your day-to-day business. The fact that like me, you're trying to give back to the community, whether somebody's paying you any money or not, it's not important. Without kissing your backside, Paul, you're definitely something I look up, someone I look up to, and I'm really excited and pumped to get started and have a great conversation today.
Cool, brilliant. And don't worry, you can do as much ass kissing as you want. That's fine by me. It's interesting what you say, Liam, because one of the things we talk about quite a bit is the state of the industry as a whole. It professes itself to be an industry full of professionals, yet sometimes I have the feeling that it's kind of let down a lot by governing bodies, if you like, certifications, and the people that are in it generally can not help themselves. I'd be interested to hear your views on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, hopefully longer term, my longer term business plan at some point would be to continue developing, especially the new breed of personal trainers coming through. And as I said before, we're not going to name necessarily the awarding bodies or the governing bodies or whoever, but there's not enough being done by them to maintain the standard in the industry. I think once you've kind of completed that initial course or certification, there's not really anything in between that's mandatory for personal trainers other than the typical sort of CPD courses that aren't really pushing us more towards that, holistic practitioner type coaching, service. And it's very much, for me, it's, you do your course, you kind of put in the big bad world of fitness. There's so many different avenues to go down, but there's not enough to maintain the standard from the governing bodies so that every single client who interacts with the personal trainer, which is their sort of only way of knowing about the fitness industry, there's not enough to make sure that they get exactly what they should be getting, which is an outstanding service and obviously results no matter how long they train with the trainer.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're bang on, and I think it relates a lot to, as I say, the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
So much as if you think that generally the fitness industry is kind of lumped in with the health industry. It's called a health and fitness industry. Yeah, in the health industry, you have to go through certain qualification criteria. You have to attain a certain level, and training and education is mandatory and carries on, especially the more you specialize. Whereas in the fitness side of the industry, it's almost as if they say, we'll get you in, charge you money, do the briefest of work we can and get you out earning money. And my problem with that is that in the fitness industry, as in the health side of the industry, we're kind of charged almost with a care of duty to clients and customers and prospects and whoever we interact with, in a way that we're supposed to enhance their life. We're supposed to improve them and give them better feelings and change their life for the better. And I think there's a real gap between the certification and that side, and it's that gap that we fall down in.
100%. That, and I think again comes back from that continuing development element. If you look at say a doctor or paramedic or something where it's quite clinical, they have to maintain a certain standard quite regularly to make sure they can continue practicing. And they don't certainly become a GP in 12 weeks or whatever is possible personal training courses. And I kind of know everybody knows this already. It's not that we're saying anything new in terms of how fast you can get through a course to become a personal trainer. But I think there has to be more done so that once you finish your personal training, there's got to be a sort of stepping stone from coming out brand new to then starting to work with clients, more of a gradual process so that, year on year, you're upskilling, and then, collectively as trainers and fitness professionals, a couple of years down the line, you've got this solid base and foundation knowledge, you've got, this skill set. And then because you obviously do interact with a massively diverse range of clientele who's got, hip problems or diabetes. And as you said before, we're kind of going outside our remit, let's say, in many ways to kind of give this nutritional advice or this health advice, but there's kind of nobody else doing that. So, if we're a personal trainer and we're doing that incorrectly, but we're the ones tasked with doing it, who's regulating that they're getting the actual right advice that they really need? So for me, that's kind of where we are as an industry, and I think more can be done, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think again, you said something very interesting in that, in the medical profession, as you say, there are kind of, you go down a particular route that, whether your skill set is better suited to that or whether you have some affinity with that way. So you have specialists in different areas. And in the fitness industry, it seems almost a dumb thing to be a specialist in everything. By definition, how can you be a specialist in everything, right? So I think, again, maybe the industry as a whole needs to look at itself, but maybe we as fitness professionals need to look at it a bit more carefully and say, you know what, my big passion is kettlebell training for people over 50 with arthritis.
Yeah.
And then there's a pathway for you to go down to get skilled in that area rather than just have general looks on Facebook or YouTube for tricks, techniques and hacks.
Yeah. 100%. I think, it's not obviously very good business sense to try and be the jack of all trades or the generalist. And, I know you kind of worked more along the sort of strength industry or strength and conditioning, whereas I'm probably more of a, quote, conventional personal trainer in terms of my market or my clientele. But, if you did decide all of a sudden that you want to veer off into this specialist niche or whatever it may be, there's very, very, very limited opportunities. And, a lot of the kind of coaching programs, and again, I use this as the high end type of quotation marks, because for me, we're going to talk about this later, but the kind of coaching, the business and the marketing, the referral side of things before they're actually developing that trainer or that coach to efficiently work in that part of the industry. So, just to plug my own little thing here, that's kind of where I'm coming from with Fast Fit. It's more of a, let's get the basics and fundamentals right first. Make sure you're competent, make sure you're confident, so that when you do decide to do all the marketing side of things, or you decide to specialize and you want to get more referrals in that field, you've got that solid foundation and base to actually then spend time, specifically servicing that part of the industry. But opportunities wise, courses wise, there's just not enough, basically.
Yeah, and I guess then if you look at it through a client or a prospect's eyes, they have something they want to write. They have an issue, a problem, however you go about it. But you're looking at an industry that has very basic regulation, if any, that has trainers go through very basic certifications, in which they can then specialize in multiple areas, charge pretty much what they want. There's no regulation there. And then market hard. And as you say, we'll talk about that in a little bit, market hard, sell hard, and just churn through these clients. And it's almost as if, as a client, these people in this industry that's charged with their health and fitness don't kind of meet them where they are. You get a lot of rah-rah motivation coming from a lot of sources. And that's great if you enjoy the gym and you love training and you want to work hard and you want to polish your six-pack abs and all that stuff. But for someone that's overweight, not confident, unsure about where to go, that's just a complete turn-off.
Yeah, 100%, Paul. And I think what also turns people off is the fact, the magnitude of people who are saying, this is the only way to do something, or this is the right path. And I think a lot of my job, especially now, my clients joke that I'm, their counselor, the best friend, all this kind of thing. It's, as an example, last night, I had a client in for about an hour and 40 minutes, for a so-called hour-long session. Most of that was spent talking through our next phase of training and how they're feeling. So, if you're a client, you're thinking, I've got this issue, I want to hire a professional to help. You shouldn't be put off by the very person that's going to give you that help. And, I think what does put them on, tarnished, super fit personal trainer who's not very human, but we need to kind of go back a step and start and try and relate to these people a bit more. And I think the longer I progress in my career in fitness, the more relatable I'm trying to make myself. I'm not mega bothered about having the biggest biceps in my local area, or being ultra six pack and getting it out as every opportunity. I want to kind of say to these people, look, I understand I've been where you are. I understand what you're struggling with, it. And if you come to me, your training and your nutrition, yes, it's going to be important, but let's actually talk about you first, and then we build from there. And that's kind of where I think the industry should go, and kind of get away from just doing these hour-long sessions and focusing around training and just nutrition as the only sort of things to work on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also that what trainers don't seem to realize is that people relate to vulnerability.
Yeah, definitely.
People relate to struggle.
Yeah.
Right? And whilst they don't want to hear tales of woe and dread and sadness all the time, they want to know that you've been there. They want to know that you go through similar feelings and similar, experiences. And what they don't want is someone who's almost robotic and says, no, that's not me. I put everything in a Tupperware box. I'm perfect. I train hard. You can do this. All you've got to do is, and that kind of thing. I think it sets relationships. And again, we'll talk about this in a minute, but it sets the relationship off on the wrong foot, because there's a discourse, if you say to someone, go hard or go home.
Yeah.
People are going to think, well, I'm not capable of going hard, so I have to go home.
Yeah.
You know, it's not so much motivation that we're looking for; it's more inspiration, and we inspire people through the way we live our lives and through the stories we tell and how we show people our vulnerability and how we not escape, but how we deal with those situations.
Yeah, definitely. It was, that kind of, aspirational or, empowerment of aspect, if you like, of our role again is becoming more and more important. I think, the big issue we have for people's day-to-day lives now is that, we're in such a kind of information overloaded society. It can be sometimes more stressful for somebody to embark on a weight loss journey or a transformation journey. So something I'm quite big on at the moment, I know it's something Precision Nutrition in particular spend a lot of time working on, is the readiness to change. And I think it comes down to, it's not necessarily mindset, because you could find the most motivated person, but their life or lifestyle or family life, whatever it may be, might not physiologically permit change, because that's just, they might be too stressed or they might never sleep, whatever. So it's kind of understanding what the client's big goal is. Yes, appreciating that they may be super motivated, but that doesn't mean they should be thrown into your fastest change in 8-week transformation program that you have. It's usually the case where you should just have the smallest, most, over deliverable goals possible. And that's kind of where I am now. We look at the bigger picture, we break it right down, and we don't even think of the bigger picture because we're working on very, very manageable things and setting really silly, or easily accomplished goals, and over delivering is so much better and easier than somebody going for the big fish and falling at the wayside every week or month or whatever, because they'll never get there, irrespective of how motivated or pumped they feel to get there.
No, I agree, and I had two, I think, huge leaps in the results I could get with clients, for two different reasons. And the second one was when I stripped everything back and helped the client gain clarity. Yeah. So there's a reason, there's a why that these people want to go through and achieve something. Yeah. And only when they discover and understand that why, they tend to get results. Yeah. Because without that why, I tend to find that the how is irrelevant. Totally, yeah. So sometimes that's really, really difficult. And as you say, you have to become part psychologist, right? So you're dealing with people with real issues that believe, because of the stories that they tell themselves subconsciously, that they may or may not be aware of, that they think consciously, yeah, I want to change, but subconsciously they're telling themselves that you'll never change because you've always been overweight, you've always been weak, and that's just who you are. Yeah. There's that discourse there between the conscious and the unconscious mind, and of course they're going to sabotage. And what an average trainer, let's say, because there's some great trainers out there, there really is. But what an average trainer would say to that person is, come on, you've got to work hard, suck it up, don't be weak. Pain is, weakness leaving the body. Yeah, all that stuff. And that's great on the surface, but underneath, that person's crying for help at a deeper level. And that's where we need to start with these people, these clients, I think.
Definitely. I mean, it's something I hear quite often. It's, as you said before, going back to the type of, robotic personal trainers or very perfect worldy type of things. Even in the 5 years I've been in this industry, things in life just seem much more hectic. We can even go as far as things like, Snapchat, Facebook, social networks. There's so many different things that are keeping people, distracted from what it is they're actually trying to do on a day-to-day life, that I think just to kind of say to somebody, do you really want this change because you're not committing to it? You really should be going the other way and say, well, actually, what is it that's distracting you or stopping you doing this action that we set? And it's, it quite often is that subconscious thing where they look at somebody else who's this robotic person or this ideal physique, like, I can never be like them. And before they even start, they've already got this self-doubt that they're never going to achieve what they're achieving. So again, going back to the goal setting aspect of it, there's no point in trying to bluff your way with this client to that goal, because you have to be realistic. And again, the longer I progress through this industry, the more realistic and upfront I am with the client. And if they say, you know, I want to have a six pack tomorrow, I'm like, you know, as a silly example, I say, look, honestly, it might not happen, or it probably won't, because we've got all of these external factors or distractions or barriers, whatever you want to call them, stop when you get there. However, you know, if we work on removing them, then the path to the six pack or the ultimate dream body or whatever just open itself up, and then you can go for it then.
Yeah, I've always told clients that, even athletes, you know, that if you look at the person or persons with that kind of physique that you aspire to, and there's someone that is an athlete, for instance, generally the physique is as a byproduct. It's not they're training for function. They're training for reasons that are unique to their sport or athleticism. And as a result, they attain a certain physique. You know, you come in and you look at the aesthetical side of it without really thinking about the functional side. Right? So it's kind of a different way of kind of approaching transformation, physical transformation, if that's kind of what the client wants. And I, you know, I've always thought that transformation should be multidimensional. So if you're going to transform your physique, which is a great goal to have, because we could all do with being a bit stronger. We could probably all do with losing a few pounds. We could all do with being a bit more mobile and flexible. You know, if we're looking at physical transformation, you've got to look at mental transformation as well, because the stories we tell ourselves will direct the results we get, right? If we're talking about mental transformation, you've got to talk about the self. So you're looking at spiritual, call it what you want, transformation as well. You know, and the relationships that you're in have to change. Your relationships with things like food have to change. Your relationships with yourself have to change. It's, as we say, a multifaceted and I think unique look at how to train a client.
Definitely, you know, we've all had those clients as well, I think, where they've went through a, you know, transformation or quite a drastic change to their health, physical condition, whatever it may be. And they might have parted company with the partner that they're with. They might have went on to get a job and working in a different environment. So for me personally, I generally find that you have to take that multifaceted and holistic approach, because it could be their job in particular that's preventing them from getting to the goal. So, you know, there's so many, you know, environment for me and support networks is absolute key. And if you have a, you know, a frenemy, as we call it, or, you know, a saboteur as a partner, then that's instantly going to be the barrier to getting to where you want to go. So, yeah, you know, it's just no longer enough, unfortunately, to look at the aesthetics of change and be like, right, we're going to get this because it's easily, you know, smart, attainable, or whatever it may be. Because it might never happen until we change the environment, change the mindset, remove the barriers, and go from there. So, yeah, I know holistic is definitely a term that's overused, but I think it's a very apt word to describe the way a coach, as opposed to a trainer, should be coaching these days.
Definitely, and speaking from a client's point of view, it's definitely what they should be looking for when looking for a trainer or a coach. You know, you're entering a relationship, and it's a relationship of trust, and it's a relationship of vulnerability, because let's say that a really switched on and caring coach goes deep with a client and finds these unconscious blockers, these stories that are sabotaging their efforts. You know, that kind of soul laid bare conversation is very deep, and there needs to be a degree of trust, and there needs to be a relationship. And I'm sorry, your average rep counting trainer just will not go there, will not even think or look at that. And that's a real factor in getting the result that the client wants.
Definitely, you know, it goes back to what I just mentioned earlier about spending so much time with clients. You know, I quite routinely meet up with clients for coffee in a local coffee shop, and we take them totally outside of the gym environment, because I don't really want them just to associate their relationship with me as Liam, the personal trainer.
That's very good, yeah.
I want to kind of disassociate the aesthetic side of fitness and actually, you know, look behind everything that a person achieves and be like, you know, if that takes 10 coffee shop coffees over the next year, that doesn't make any difference to me. You know, if anything, it shows that I'm prepared to put the work in with the client, give them that extra attention and sort of customer service, if you like. But also, I think it's our duty, if you are going to charge quite a relatively high amount of money, because personal training, whether people like it or not, is not something that everybody can A, afford, or B, be willing to shell out or invest money into. So for me, even if you're charging the bottom money or the top money, people are still paying for that relationship. And they need to hear from you between sessions. They need to know that they can come to you. I mean, you've had it, Paul. We get the most bizarre stories, personal stories, personal issues, a magnitude of different things. So you need to have that trust. You need to have the relationship beyond just you as the trainer. It's like an integrated relationship, because their goals are my goals and they are my business. And that's not the reason to do it, because I never, ever really discuss money with the client, aside from sign up or, your typical moments. But if you're just thinking about clients as numbers and sort of ways to drive more business and money into your business, I found that was the fastest way to lose clients, the quickest way I've gained clients in the last couple of years, especially the last 12 to 18 months, is by just going back to the relationship and service side of things. And now, I've, without being arrogant, got a nice little waiting list of people, and it's not huge, but it's kind of that constant stream of people who are seeing me in my relationship with their friend or whoever it is that I'm training and think, actually, I need somebody like that to support me. And it's, it's flattering and it's a nice place to be in. But I think more of us should be trying to push towards that way of working.
Definitely, and it goes along with our next subject of relationship building instead of traditional sales and marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, marketing is important, selling is important. We're in business, and I think that's another area where fitness professionals are let down. There's no real business coaching except from fitness mentors who seem to spring up from nowhere, who are doing it in the wrong way, giving out extravagant promises to fitness professionals who are naive about this subject, and charging thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds with the false promise that these trainers are going to earn six figures, like that. When in reality, the only person earning the six figures is the person that's selling the product. So I think there's this kind of shift that needs to happen where the trainer, yes, they have to appreciate selling. They're selling themselves. I always say they're selling themselves rather than the product anyway. But marketing for me is just stories. They're stories that are told to show people your vulnerabilities, to show people you understand and that you are willing to meet them where they are, not where you think they should be. But the fundamental crux of it all is that building of a relationship. And that building of a relationship should be sacrosanct between the coach and the client. And it should be the fundamental reason that coach is doing what they're doing, to build relationships, to build worthwhile two-way relationships where they may not actually end up helping that person, but that person trusts them implicitly and will tell them of their circle of this person. So it becomes almost a referral-based business as opposed to a hard Facebook sell type business,
I 100% agree. And I think what we need to look at when we actually break it down is, the word personal is in personal training. So, for me, that's about having a personality for starters, but also then having a personal relationship. And if you work with somebody one-on-one, one-on-one, as we said before, you've got to get them to trust you. You've got not only just to refer other people in, but so they can tell you stuff and really open up so you can get a better understanding of what's stopping them progress. But going back to the kind of sort of fitness sort of mentorship type guru / whatever want to call it, my biggest gripe with that is, I've had mentors before and, I did learn. I'm not going to say that I didn't learn stuff about business and marketing, but it is that thing where it's kind of fast forward and people, especially new coaches who I'm specifically targeting now, past the point of becoming competent and understand the basics of a personal training business, which fundamentally is building up a good network of people who understand what you're about, understand that you're going to help them whether they pay you or not. And then you do all the business and the marketing on the back end. And if whilst we can utilize Facebook, and I obviously use it for my other business and things like that, we can use it and should be using it for marketing. I think we need to come back from the word marketing and say, like, let's use it for relationship building. And then, as soon as that happens, referrals should be your bread and butter of your business. And if you're getting more referrals from, selling advertising or whatever it is, rather than, actually people word of mouth, if you like, then I really think you need to start and work on the relationship. Because if you stop spending money on this advertising, you're not going to be left with a lot of sort of, close-knit, very well sold, in the sense that they're just going to be dying to pay you money to work with you because you've got such a good relationship with their mom or their sister or their friends. So yeah, it goes a really, really long way. And as I said before, for me, fitness mentoring is definitely a place for it. But let's get these trainers and ourselves as competent, confident, and really useful at getting people results, consistently, and making them feel as they want to feel, which is supported. Then you do all the other stuff on the back end and then grow your business from there.
I always think that the difference between sort of relationship building and marketing is basically a long-term commitment with someone and a one-off transaction.
Definitely.
If you market the way that a lot of people are advising fit pros to market, it's almost as if you're just trying to scattergun as many people into a funnel, see who comes through and puts their hand up to purchase a product. Whereas when you build a relationship, you're actually invested in that relationship.
Yeah.
It becomes part of you as a person. And it's about your values and your ethics and your ethos. And it's about building friendships at the end of the day. And you can look at that and people can say to me, that's really woo-woo. I don't care. I like building relationships with people. I like having them deep conversations with people. And you know what? At the end of it, I've got this skill. I can do this for you. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't, it's not a problem. Yeah. If there's anything I can do for you, you just say, you're a friend. We're in a relationship. And that's where I'm at with my business. And that was the second big jump up in my business. As I said, clarity earlier and relationship building secondly.
Yeah, definitely. If we touch back on the kind of gurus who are quoting this, £100,000 a year personal trainer, I certainly don't know any personal trainers earning $100,000 just off personal training. And maybe it's what they're not telling us is that, their business side of their, business is actually what's driving the bulk of their income. So what I think new trainers should be looking for, if they're looking to look for anybody to help them progress in their career or, any course, then it should be centered around, building that relationship, servicing your clients first. And you really should be going to somebody who's still actively doing what it is that they're preaching. And they shouldn't, you said they're kind of popping up from all over. They shouldn't just suddenly become fitness professional, entrepreneur, businessman, and then coach to the trainers. They should be, still a personal trainer across that whole, above everything else. That's what they are. They're a personal trainer who's still developing,
they have a fitness business that,
fitness business, they don't have a business, if you know what I mean.
No.
But you do find, if anybody I know in fitness who's making more than $100,000 a year, they've either got products, they've got equipment, and they're doing business coaching. So, and they don't say, oh, by the way, 10% of my income is coming from face-to-face client interaction.
No, of course not.
So that's kind of what gripes me a little bit. It's a bit. We could talk about that one all day.
We could talk about it, and we're sadly running short of time. And what I want to do to end today, and we'll definitely have to get together again and do a second part to this, Liam, because there's so much more I'd love to run through with you. But talk a little bit about your future, your ideas for how you are looking to mentor new fit pros. And how people can interact with you should they choose on that.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've discussed, what I've kind of done is, I've sought my own mentor to build this program, and somebody who I think, shares my ethics and beliefs and the kind of commitment to develop the industry. I've went for that sort of niche, if you like, new personal trainer who's still within the first 2 years of the career. And the reason I've done that is because I think after 2 years, you should have really raised your profile enough to make the jump into full-time personal trainer. And, I managed to do it successfully several times over the last 5 years. But I think because we've got so many high-end programs that I'm working on the sustainable side of a personal trainer's business, I'm going back to basics and say, right, you've just finished your course. What is the fundamental elements and aspects of your business that you need to have in place so that when you do the marketing side of it and you do raise your profile and you get more referrals, A, you can manage all of that coming in, and B, you don't dilute your service. You've got that sustainability. So, in a nutshell, it is literally how to sort of build and grow, but also then sustain a profitable business in the fitness industry as a personal trainer. And from that, they might go off and open doors to other opportunities and developments and, do talks and get on the circuit, if you like, or whatever. But the core part of it is how do we serve clients in the best possible way we can. And that is called Fast Fit Pro. And it's basically teaching them how not to make all the mistakes I've made in the last 5 years, getting them set up a lot faster, but just giving them that sustainability and sharing my best practices, things I'm still doing day to day with my 10 clients as a service at the moment. And if anybody kind of wants to find out a little bit more, they can just head to fastfitpro.co.uk. There's a short video to what the program isn't. Then there's an opportunity to declare your interest, and then we actually launch in January 2016.
Fantastic.
I'm excited about that, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great, and of course I'll watch with interest how that goes for you, and I'm sure it'll be super successful because, as we have said throughout, you certainly, in my opinion, do your fitness business the right way. And you obviously care very much for the results you get for your clients and for your clients. And as a result of that, I'm sure it will be very successful.
Thanks very much, Paul. I appreciate it.
That's about it for today. We've done our time. I think we've gone way over our time, but that's not a problem. And we'll have Liam back again. But for now, from me, Paul, we'll say goodbye to you. Thanks, guys.